I think at the time they were good for the time. I mean, listening to them now, obviously, you sort of cringe because of the sound and the whole recording world has changed and the way things can be done now. And I think any past product you listen to, you always go, oh dear, we could have done this and we could have done that. But for the time, no, I think it was all right. And Volume 4, the same. That was good for us at the time we'd done Volume 4 because it was the first time I think we'd actually recorded in America. And we went over to LA and it was great. It was great times.
When you're hungry, you all have one goal to have, and that is to get successful. Now, when you get successful, it affects various people. I mean, it affected me. I didn't give a shit. I was full of cocaine and all the rest of the crap that I used to do, you know.
I don't class ourselves as heavy metal. I know a lot of people do. We've always come from the hard rock-based thing. So what we play is power, and yeah, you try and make a feeling into it and a mood and create, like you, back to the horror film, to create some kind of vibe from it.
Warning, the following program contains scenes of graphic stupidity among four lifelong friends who compete to embarrass each other.
The painting gold one was when we were in Los Angeles and we were recording Volume 4, I think it was, Volume 4. And we rented a house in Bel Air of John DuPont, who was the famous DuPont products, you know, the paints and lighters and all that rubbish. And so we rented his house, and it was lovely, got a ballroom and everything. And the idea was we were going to write the album there. So we had all the gear set up in by the pool, in this room by the swimming pool. And we go rummaging around the garage, and there's all these paints in there, there's spray paints and lacquers and God knows what else. Oh, great. And so one night, Bill Wood, he got absolutely pissed as a parrot. I mean, he was drunk. So he got back to the house, and he couldn't get his clothes. So he got his clothes off, and he's like, and for some silly reason, we had an idea of spraying him gold. We got these spray can paints and sprayed him gold, and everywhere. And then got this lacquer and lacquered him, clear lacquer. And it was laughing at first. Then he got really violently sick. I mean, oh God, what's happening, you know? And he would like this. I thought, bloody hell. So I had to phone 911, and I said, what is it? I said, it's emergency, can we have an ambulance? And I said to him, well, what's wrong with him? Well, he's painted gold. I mean, they went, what? We painted him gold and he's sewing up. And of course they came out and they just ripped us apart. You idiots, you know. You could have killed him. And they gave him a big injection of to perk him up. They said, you've got to you've got to remove this straight away. So we went in the garage again and got this paint stripper. Come back and starts rubbing this paint stripper on him. And of course he went all red then. It was like a beetroot. It was just mad, really. Really stupid. I mean, you never thought of the consequences, really. He could have died, you know.
4 in my Black Sabbath album deep dive series. Today I am going to be talking about their 4th album, Black Sabbath Volume 4. This is my repress version of the album. I also have a 70s press, which is a little more worn, worse for wear, but not in terrible shape, but a little bit of ring wear there. This is my cassette copy, which I always like because the cover is a bit different from the album. This is my original CD copy on Warner Brothers. And then this is the remastered CD, which has a different back cover than the vinyl version, obviously. But anyway, what a fantastic album this was. This was released on September 25th, 1972, and it was the first album that Black Sabbath produced themselves. They let Roger Bain go. They felt like they didn't really get their music, and so they decided to produce it themselves, along with their manager, Patrick Meehan, who Tony Iommi has said he really didn't do anything, but he insisted on having co-producers credit. I'm not sure why the band let him get away with it, because they said he really had nothing to do with the recording of this album. But nonetheless, that's the way that the credit reads to this day. It reached number 5 in the UK, number 13 in the US, and all the way to number 1 in Australia. And with this album, you really hear the band giving birth to what we would know as heavy metal in the 1980s. The new wave of British heavy metal was very much influenced by this album. And today, like most great music of the time, it's hard to hear it in the context of the day because everything's so far removed. We're so familiar with this album and we're so familiar with Black Sabbath's music. But it's easy to forget that back in 1972, nothing else sounded like this. We have the benefit now. We've heard Iron Maiden, we've heard Judas Priest, we've heard all of the 80s metal bands. But this was the template for all of it. And this was a band who was coked up to the max. Black Sabbath started getting very deep into cocaine during these sessions. In fact, one of the songs, Snowblind, was an out-and-out reference to cocaine. So for the first time, the band was on coke, and yet they still managed to put out what many consider to be their greatest album. This album, or the next album, is probably my favorite, but it expanded the sonic territory of heavy metal and hard rock into uncharted territory, really, because, like I say, hard rock just did not sound like this. Even Deep Purple didn't sound like this. And what I like is the album is bookended by the old and the new. The first thing you hear on this album is this very slow blues intro. Sounds very late 60s, very early 70s. And then the last thing you hear, Under the Sun, is breaking so much new ground. It shattered anything that had gone before. It was so innovative. It was so new. They were breaking so many boundaries with this album. It's really remarkable. And you have to listen to it, remembering this is 1972, not 1982. And Black Sabbath was so far ahead of the pack in blazing that trail for heavy metal music with this album. It is so groundbreaking. Fantastic album, even under the circumstances under which it was recorded. Hard to believe that they came out with an album that was this great, this influential, this innovative. So let's talk about the tracks on the album. Like I say, it opens with Wheels of Confusion. And like I said before, it opens with a very slow blues intro before shifting into a more familiar heavy rock song with a driving Iommi riff. The lyrics are about alienation and loneliness. Interestingly, the coda on American pressings of the album, the last part of this track was called The Straightener. I don't know why they felt they had to subdivide it that way, but the whole song is very cool. In some ways, it's classic Black Sabbath. The next track, Tomorrow's Dream, is one of Sabbath's heaviest songs to date. It's got a heavy chugging rhythm with what sounds like a tambourine as part of the percussion and a very melodic chorus. That's one of the things I love about Tony Iommi is all of his riffs. They're so melodic. Tomorrow's Dream is just fantastic. The song is short and it ends very abruptly, and all of a sudden we get the opening piano riff for the song Changes. And ever since Planet Caravan on Paranoid, Sabbath began including a softer ballad on each of their albums, and that's what we have here. The melody's carried by a simple piano riff, and then in the chorus there's this beautiful swell of mellotron. Actually reminds me of the Moody Blues, but it's a great, soft, slow ballad. The next track is just called FX. And according to Tony Iommi, it was meant to be a joke. Apparently, the crucifix that he wore around his neck, he had just smoked some hashish, and the crucifix that he was wearing struck the guitar strings, and the band was intrigued by the sound, so they decided to play around by adding echo and striking guitar strings with different objects. I mean, it's probably the most insubstantial song in Black Sabbath's entire catalog. I mean, I guess it's okay. It just kind of is this interruption after changes before we get into one of the heaviest moments on the album with the next track, Supernaut. Now, this might be my favorite Tony Iommi guitar riff, and it is an absolute incredible track. I've read that this was one of John Bonham's favorite songs. Frank Zappa loved this song, but Bill Ward's drumming is ferocious, the bass is throbbing, Iommi's guitar playing has never sounded better. This is just a beast of a song. This is one of my favorite Bill Ward drum showcases. Not just this song, but the entire album. Bill Ward is just drumming his ass off, and this song is great. I love when it's just Bill Ward alone with the drums, just churning out that rhythm. What a great, great song. One of my favorite, definitely a top 5 Black Sabbath song for me. Then we have Slow Blind, which is a brutal slice of sludgy heavy metal with lyrics inspired by the band's indulgence of cocaine, of course. This song sounds like it was written during the second or third album. It just has that straightforward, no bullshit feel to it, which I like a lot. So it's got kind of a retro feel to it, but it's still a very heavy, powerful song. Then we have Cornucopia. This track goes in so many different directions. They change up the tempo, the time signature, the mood, the pace of the song. It's like 5 songs in one. It goes, you have no idea where it's going to go next, but that's part of the mystique and the charm of this song. Absolutely love it. One of the things I really love about Sabbath is they would just take a song in a surprise direction that you didn't see coming, and yet it would work so brilliantly, and Cornucopia is a great example of that. Then we have the Tony Iommi instrumental Laguna Sunrise. Apparently he wrote this after watching the sunrise at Laguna Beach in California. I mean, it's nice. It just seems a little bit redundant to me. I don't hate it, but in terms of Tony Iommi's instrumental, this one it's above average for me, but I'm not going to call it great. Track number 9 is St. Vitus Dance. Now this has a Led Zeppelin inspired guitar riff that reminds me of something that you might have found on Houses of the Holy or Physical Graffiti. The verses are very heavy, but the chorus is brighter and upbeat than I think anything we've heard that was this heavy from Black Sabbath before. But it's a cool song. I like this one a lot. And then the album closer, holy crap, Under the Sun. The intro is slow, doomy, full of dread. It almost sounds like it's being slowed down, played at a slower speed. And then the song shifts into the virtuosic guitar style and tempo that would become the template for many classic metal bands in the 1980s. On American pressings, the second half of the song was titled Every Day Comes and Goes, but it's just an epic album closer. You can hear the future of Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Metallica on this song. It's a fantastic way to end what is just a remarkable, groundbreaking album. So anyway, that's my take on Volume 4. Let me know what you think. Hopefully you're enjoying this series. Sorry these are taking a bit longer than usual, but it's summertime and I'm just a little bit busy. But anyway, hope you're doing well and take care.